Welcome to the Monday Monologue. Well, just finished up this 2A3 amp build series, and I'm really impressed with what this turned out like. The measurements are really nice, and beyond that, it sounds really good. And I've listened to 2A3 amps before. I did a rebuild series on a pair of monoblocks that had a very different circuit, and it was okay. It was a little sterile to me. We did a little tweak on it. We did mostly thermal management kind of things, and it seemed like it was more suited for like Clips Heresy kind of use. This amp with these modern tubes has more power and is actually bumping up against what I would have normally considered 300B type territory. And most of these modern 2A3s are a lot higher wattage tubes than the originals. Like these PS vanes are rated at 25 watts. I think the EML solid plate 2A3 tubes are rated at 28 watts. And so running an amp like this with 20 watts of dissipation is now easily possible. Makes 4.5 to 5 watts, and really it didn't start clipping till 5 watts. And so it's got that headroom that you need to be able to play it at 2 to 3 watts without any problem. And it's really got a nice clean sound. I think there's something cool about these 2.5 volt heaters. They've got a much lower noise floor than the 5 volt heaters that a 300B has. Even running DC heaters, and you don't need DC heaters with this, so you don't run into issues with the heater circuit impacting the sound negatively because it's just straight off the transformer. And so, yeah, I think this may be my next production amp. And I know some of you folks were like, well, we want a 300B amp. Well, here's your 3/4 of a 300B for half the price of what a 300B amp would cost. And I think this would be kind of my next step above my EL34 amp without spending a ton more money. So anyway, that's some new stuff going on in the shop that I'm really excited about. I've been listening to this thing a lot, and it sounds great with these PS Vane Horizon tubes. I haven't done a lot of tube rolling yet. I'm still kind of burning in the amp. So anyway, don't want to talk too much about this, but it did lead me into the topic today, which is about the stereo market right now and like what's selling, what's not, what retailers are doing well, which ones aren't. And I don't know if y'all are subscribed to this magazine. If you aren't and you enjoy audio, you should subscribe. It's not that expensive a subscription. Actually, I think it was like less than $10 for a year at one of these bargain things or whatever. So yeah, it's fun to get that once a month. And if you're like me, I still enjoy having a paper magazine show up at my house. But anyway, the editorial this month was talking about the economy, the tariffs, the stuff that's impacting imports, and what market segment is getting really hammered by this sort of thing. And it's interesting, they were saying that the really high-end market, like the stuff most of us I think aren't, the people that are buying the $200,000 speakers and the $30,000 tone arms and all that kind of stuff, that market's doing great. That the folks that are like super rich, they're all making money right now off the stock market bouncing around and playing the trade gambling and all that stuff that I'm not doing. I mean, I've got some stock investments, but it's more of a steady state kind of thing. It goes up and down, and I just kind of ride the whole wave up. Anyway, seems like there's a lot of people right now that are super rich that are making tons of money, and they're spending it. And he was saying that, these shows where they're selling this super high-end gear, they're making lots of sales, and they're all doing great. And then he also said the folks down at the very bottom of the market that are selling the $100 chip amps and the, you know, $80 turntables and all that stuff, that they're all doing fine because folks are comfortable spending that level of money because it's not a lot of money to most people to spend $100. So people are buying stuff in that range. But the part of the market that's really suffering is the $1,000 to $5,000 product range, which is where I'm at. And I'll say it again, this year I've had very low sales since January. And I've had some friends of mine that are in the market saying, oh, it's a seasonal thing and don't worry about it and just, you should stock up on amps now while the season's slow. And I'm going to be hopeful and also hopeful that the markets or the economy is going to turn around or consumer confidence is going to go up. And I've just bought about $4,000 worth of parts to build some amps to put in stock. And yeah, I got hit with almost $400 in tariffs. So that, I guess I'm just going to have to pass that on to customers. I don't know how else. I can't absorb it. I can't be building amps for free because the parts tariffs. So it was just an interesting article, I thought. And it's interesting that the really high-end segment of the market is flourishing right now, but the kind of middle class range of audio gear is basically tanked for the last few months. And I'm literally seeing that. I'm not sure. Folks like Deckware and some of these other folks that have a huge backlog of orders from before the economy kind of is doing its, people not real sure about what's happening and it's gotten a little unstable. They had all these orders in the bank or in the queue before any of this happened, so I'm sure they're going to be fine. But for startups like me, yeah, it's been pretty tough. So anyway, I guess the point of that was, if you're not subscribed to Stereophile magazine, go subscribe. Give them a few bucks and enjoy getting a magazine coming to your house once a month. So, I'm trying to think of what's else going on. Have been enjoying the audio club that I joined, and officially joined about a month ago. Got my little name badge and stuff, which is kind of fun. They've been around for decades, and so that's kind of cool that there's a long history with some of these folks being in this club, and they've all been super nice. We had a fun time demoing my turntable and stuff for them, and that really helped me get a feel for like where my equipment's at. I've gone over to a couple of folks' houses and listened to their gear. And one of the guys bought my little Blue Sound Node. I gave him a nice deal, and I kind of feel that's a thing too, that folks that are members of the club, if I've got some used gear that they're interested in, I'll give them a good deal because they're part of our little club. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so that's been a fun thing. I am going to probably miss at least a week of Monday monologue kind of stuff, and I've got to go deal with my life partner's having some surgery. Got to go take care of him. So probably not going to be a whole lot going on with the channel. I was glad to get this done before I take my little vacation here. And when we come back, we'll work on finishing up some of this other stuff that has been kind of sitting around that I kind of lost interest in, and I need to get off my plate. I need to finish that little Noob Sound 6P1, and I need to finish that 6C33C and get those things done, and then we can move on to some other stuff. I think I want to play with these Acrosound push-pull transformer amps. Haven't done a lot of push-pull stuff on the channel. I've had folks say, why don't you do more push-pull stuff? And one of the reasons, I think, is I just love the way single-ended amps sound. I mean, I listened to this little 2A3, and as good as the ST70 sounds, it's just different. And I honestly have not heard a push-pull amp that sounds as sweet and has the smooth mid-range and the clarity that I hear out of single-ended amps. And so that's probably one of the reasons that I don't do more push-pull stuff, is I don't really need the power that they make, and the single-ended stuff just sounds so good to me. And I feel like I have got kind of a knack with setting these up. Like, I took this schematic and we didn't change it a lot, but I made a few little tweaks here and there that I thought would make it sound better, and I feel like it did. And so I'm more comfortable, I guess, working with these. But yeah, maybe we'll get on some more push-pull stuff. The other thing that I want to experiment with is doing a native balanced input push-pull tube amp where no RCA jack, is balanced only, and it basically is using the split phase input directly to the tubes, which we'll go over later this summer. I definitely want to do that. I've got a pair of mono blocks over here that were EL84 tubes that they sound decent with being, in their normal kind of push-pull single-ended input, RCA jack type input, but I want to try converting them to a balanced input and see what they sound like. So that'll be a fun thing. And yeah, I just went back to what some of you were telling me. I got kind of burnt out, and some of you in the comments were saying, do what you want to do and we'll watch. And this is what I wanted to do. I've had the parts for a 283 amp sitting here for well over a year, and I've just gotten bogged down in other stuff, and it's like, I want to build a 2A3 amp, so I did, and I feel like it's kind of re-energized me, where I feel excited again about what I'm doing. And so I'm going to try to keep doing that, but I also don't want to have this dread of, here's this half-finished project that's just been languishing, and yeah, that's one of those things that just kind of bugs me, that it's hard to ignore, I guess I'd say. But anyway, so I think that's kind of it for the Monday Monologue. I've been enjoying a bunch of mono stuff. I am excited that MoFi has just released a 45 version of Yes, Close to the Edge that was been remixed by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. And I haven't been disappointed with any of his remasterings. And that's such a great album that really, to me, feels like that the vinyl versions and even the digital versions I've listened to it aren't like audiophile quality. So hopefully this is going to be. I've got one pre-ordered and really excited about that. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap up the video for this week. Thanks to all you Patreon supporters, subscribers, folks that are regular viewers. I really appreciate you guys a lot. If I didn't get so many views on these Monday Monologues, I wouldn't be doing them. But I know some of you guys have told me, it's like, I look forward to it every week. And so that inspires me to, hey, let me make one. I might even do one on location down in Florida. We'll see. Thanks again to folks that make donations at my website. I get quite a few people that just make direct deposits to my PayPal off my website, thanking me for helping them out with a project, or, giving them inspiration and the time I spend doing these videos. And I really appreciate that people do understand how time consuming this is. I mean, even this Monday Monologue is probably going to be, from recording it to editing it to re-watching the video for, errors, and then uploading it and doing all the checks and all that. It's probably a 3-hour process for a 20-minute video. And so yeah, it is what it is. So again, thanks to all you subscribers. We're about at 20K. That'll be a fun milestone to hit. And we will see you on the next Monday Monologue.